Hi there everybody, it's UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator Helzie here from slimandstylish.com. Thank you very much for joining me today. Today is a Stamp Around the UK video hop. So after you've checked out my project, please do go to the description bar below. You click the little down arrow and in there will be a load of links to my other demonstrator friends that have also made similar projects today on this theme, and you'll be able to see all the lovely things that they've made. So today's theme is metallic. That means I got to play heat embossing. I do like it when I can heat emboss. So this is the card that I've made for it, and I apologise right now because it is so metallic and I have a couple of lights shooting at different angles. I bet it's really sort of glaring for you, but it hits the metallic brief and I quite like it. What do you think? It's using the new Wild Roses cling stamp set. This is a big background stamp. And while it's been around for a couple of months, because it's part of the mini catalogue, it's my first time of using it. So it's new to me. So I'm calling it my new stamp set. And strangely, when I bought it, in my mind, I was going to stamp it black. And then I was going to colour all of the flowers in really bright so it popped. And don't worry, I am going to do that. But for today's one, I think it's really cute metallic, but I just couldn't resist putting a pop of colour with it. So let me show you how to make it, and I'll give you some tips and tricks as we go along. Means we're going to be heat embossing. I always find it a lot easier to do that using your Stamparatus or a stamp positioning tool, purely because you want to make sure you get a nice clean print, and I always think it's better to do it twice, and then you know that the ink is definitely on there and you're not missing any bits. So I'm going to get this out now. What I will say with the big background stamps is, while they are cling and you can attach these to the back of your stamp like you do with your usual stamps, I actually don't on my big background stamps. I love the backgrounds on my normal cling, but on the background stamps, because it is so big, I find you have to get this on perfectly, otherwise it can create little bubbles in it and I don't feel you get a even stamp then, and I'm not very good at sticking them on, so I've left it, and I know which way around it is because I can see on the flowers and it is only one stamp, so I haven't put my background on. But it's up to you. If you're more confident at that than I am, you go right ahead. So I'm just going to pop this in, and I use my deluxe mat just to line up my stamp before I put it in so I know where to put the paper. And I'm going to stick it to that. When you use your Stamparatus, if you put your stamp case underneath where the lid is, you're going to have a much firmer base, and that will work better for you. Okay, now my usual card bases, which are normally 10 centimeters by 14.35 centimeters, actually are smaller than this stamp, which is great because it means it's going to go around the whole stamp, but it's actually really hard to get it to stay in the right place on my Stamparatus because I can't use the magnets. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use a slightly bigger piece of cardstock and cut it down afterwards, and that way I can still put my magnets on. So once I've lined it up, I know it comes to that bit there. Because I want to put my magnets on it still, I'm just going to overlap it and pop a magnet on that grid piece just there. Just going to double check, and I need to move it down a bit, so it's a good job I double checked. There we go, pretty perfect. And I'll pop my magnet over this side. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to come in with my embossing buddy. Now my embossing buddy is a couple of years old, but you know, it's one of those that if it isn't broke, don't fix it. It just means that sometimes it leaves some powder on my paper. So I actually just use a paintbrush and I just whiz that off. I feel like I'm dusting my paper. And my Versamark, and I'm going to ink all of this up, and I'm really going to push down to make sure that the Versamark gets into all of the different bits because there's a lot of texture in this stamp. So I'm going to stamp it down once, and I'm really going to push on that because I want to make sure that the impression is all over the card. Now, if it's not and you make a mistake, don't worry. Believe it or not, I made a mistake with this one and I covered it up with my label. So you and me know that, but no one else is going to know because the label covers it. Okay, so I'm just going to go again, make sure it's all linked up. Okay, and stamp it down again. And again, push really hard just to make sure that it's definitely all covered. Now you can't see anything I've done there, that's because it's clear ink. So I've got to add my embossing powder on. So I'm using the silver embossing powder because it was the only metallic-y one I had. It's also got white and clear, but they're not very metallic-y, I felt. So I always just use a piece of scrap paper and I fold it in half so that it catches the powder. Otherwise it gets messy. And don't do what I do. Normally I put it on, then I tap all the powder back into the tub, and then I blow on this to blow it all back into the tub. And if you get it wrong and you blow the tub, you end up getting it everywhere. So just a heads up on that. So I'm just going to use the whole powder on this so that I cover every different bit. And if you pop it all at the top and run it down. If you're doing just a little bit of heat embossing, you only need to put a little bit on the area you're doing. It's only because I'm doing the whole card. What do you know? It's messed up in the exact same place it messed up before. I'm obviously just missed that bit with my hands. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my paintbrush and just remove that extra bit off there. I've put my fingerprints there. Okay, so yeah, what I normally do is fold it up and then pop it straight back into my dish. But like I said earlier, I decided to actually lightly blow on it so it all went into one area and just made even more of a mess. So I like to put something hard underneath the paper when I'm heat embossing because I find it doesn't warp as much. This will still warp quite a bit because it's a big sheet. So if you've got me on full sound, you want to turn me down a bit because I'm going to be using my embossing tool. Nice and noisy for the day. You see it starting to change colour and really metallic. Just keep going until the whole lot's all done. And you can easily see it by when it changes its colour and you know it's been done in that area. Okay, so that's it all finished. And you see, normally whenever I used to heat emboss and I didn't used to put it on here, I'd have noticed that would have warped more than what it has now. So I think having a solid surface underneath holds it, and so long as your solid surface isn't going to melt on you or get really hot, then it will work. So I'm going to bring my trimmer up now and I'm going to cut this down to the size I want. I want it 9.5 by 13.85. So I'm just going to play with it. It really doesn't matter that I've messed up that bit in the middle because I have got a label to put on. But if I was doing it with black or coloured ink, you would have obviously seen that and re-gone over it again with your Stamper Artist. But being with the Versamark, it is a bit hard to see. So that is now the right width, and I want it down to 13.85, which is just there. No, it's not, it's there. Almost did it at 12.85, so that would have been a bigger boo-boo than missing that. Okay, so I'm going to team this up with Coastal Cabana. That's the colour I used for my previous one, and I quite liked it. You could do it with any colour that you had. What I've got for this is I've got my base piece of Coastal Cabana, which has actually been punched out using our tag punch, because I made little colour coaches for all of my team and regular customers, so they could see all of our different colours together. So I actually punched them out of all of my back bases, because when I put my cardstock on, you're not going to see it. And I like to save these little things. So I did it in the middle, and it saved me wasting a whole piece of card, and took it out of all my bases. But it does mean that every base I've got has now got gaping holes in the back. But this is cut 10 centimetres to 14.35, so it sits as a mount at the back, and it just sits quite nicely on my cardstock, which I've already cut and scored. Okay. You've got a couple of options now to add colour on. So I've actually popped some little colour bursts in here. So you can use your watercolour pencils, and if you use your watercolour pencil, you can pop it on like that, which looks dry and scratchy, and that's how it should look, because then you can come in with your blender pen. Sorry, I used it earlier, so I know which parts, because I've got the greeny bit on. And you can spread that out, and it makes it look a lot smoother, a lot more coloured. Or you can use our sponge daubers or our new blending brushes, and I used our blending brush. So what I actually did was I just tapped it into my ink. You can wash these out after you've used them, they work, and then just leave them to dry. I've dropped the dark part of the ink in the centre, because it will actually create a very dark blob, and then I've just worked that out like that, and I'll do the exact same on most of my big open flowers. So it gives that right bright pop of Coastal Cabana in the centre, and it just spreads out quite nicely then. Then once you've done that, I just blended the whole brush over all the card to make sure it was all blended in, and just to give it sort of a very subtle Coastal Cabana background like that. Once done, I've stuck it onto my backing paper. I've actually stuck it using Stampin' Seal Plus. So we have Stampin' Seal, which is fine. It's perfectly fine for using on the back of your basic white and putting it onto cardstock. I would ordinarily use Stampin' Seal, but because I've heat embossed this paper, so it is a tiny bit warped, I'm using Seal Plus because it's actually a stronger stick and it will hold it down completely. So I'm just going to do that and run that up. Okay. And then I'm going to stick that onto my base. I'm going to use Stampin' Seal Plus because I've already got it out, but again, you could use your seal, that's fine. Could also use liquid glue, of course, that would be okay as well, and that would actually work on the back of the embossed bit. It'd hold it in the right place. And there we go, nice and sparkly. So to finish the card off, I'm just going to grab my scrap pen from before, and I'm going to use a stamp that I love and I don't use it often enough. It's Dandelion Wishes. This has been around for a few years now, and I think because it's been around for some time, I don't use it as much as I should, but the font in it is just gorgeous and swirly and lovely. So I'm using this one, Wishes for a Lifetime of Love and Happiness, because I don't know why I thought this looked a bit weddingy. I think it might be the bright metallicness of it. So I want my Coastal Cabana again. And I'm just going to stamp that. And then I've got my fancy punch. This is from the annual catalogue. And I'm just going to punch that out. It just fits. And I'm going to work out where I've messed it up the most. So just there, and that will sit over the top of it. So it's actually just to the side, but it's covering it up the same as that covered up my last one. Must be a reason why it's in the same area. I think it's because I push like that. So I actually leave a triangle and don't put all my weight on that bit. I need to work that out. But I'm going to pop a couple of dimensionals on here. Pop it up, pop it over my boo-boo, and then to finish it off, I have got our metallic ribbon. I love this. This is a mesh ribbon. It was from the mini catalogue before Christmas, and it's carried over, and I used it as lots of icicles, but I just really think it's so lovely, and it makes, because it's fat, it makes really nice big bows. The one thing I will warn you with this, as you can make a nice big fat bow like that, is when you actually come to cut it, beware, because there are little strands inside it. And if you don't like how you've cut it, so for instance, I'm going to cut this one down now, some of these little strands shed. It's fine for your bow, absolutely fine for your bow. There's nothing wrong with your craft work, but your desk can then get loads of little shreddy bits over the top. So make sure you've got a bin handy, otherwise it can get a little tiny bit messy. Okay, pop a glue dot on the back of there. And stick that down. And finally, my take a pick tool, I'm going to grab 3 of my rhinestones off, pop them in the corner up here just for some extra bling, because you can never have enough bling, can you? And there we go. A real shiny metallic-y card. Hopefully you've been able to see all of that with the lights shining on it. I was a bit wary that you might get a bit of feedback and glare, so hopefully it's been okay. Thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed this project, please do subscribe and come back. I do post regular content, and don't forget to check out all my lovely friends. Their details are in the description bar below. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you soon. Bye. I hope you've enjoyed today's project. All items that I have used on this video are available to purchase from my store, www.slimandstylish.stampinup.net. Alternatively, if you would like a copy of our catalogues, please send me an email to slimandstylish@live.co.uk or leave me a comment below and I'll get in touch with you. I upload regular content to this channel, so if you do enjoy watching my tutorials, please make sure that you have subscribed and rang the bell to get notifications when new videos go live. Thank you for joining me and have a lovely day.